All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks, wherever you're zooming in from. Welcome to People Powered's takeover of the Asian Development Bank's CSO Conversations. We're super excited to be here today. I see that people are still streaming in, so I think we're gonna give it another couple of minutes before we get started with today's session. I just want to point out that if you're more comfortable viewing this with automated captions, Zoom does offer that. So if you're wanting to turn that on, I think you can go to more, or you can check your sidebar. You can see a little icon with CC on it, like you can see on the slide right now. So please do feel free to turn that on. We're just going to give it another minute. To everyone who just entered, hello, welcome to People Powered's takeover of today's CSO Conversations. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in chat. Go ahead and put your name in, your organization, where you're based, where you're joining from. Yes, thank you, Ryan. All right, we're just going to give it another couple of minutes. Again, if you need to turn on the automated captions, I know sometimes it's easier to follow along when you have the captions enabled. You can do that on Zoom. I think the slide right now shows you how you can do that. All right, seeing some people coming. Someone's coming in from Fiji. Wow, that's cool. Greetings from Bangladesh. Hello, welcome. From Qatar. That's awesome. We've got people from all over the world. Someone's coming in from Luxembourg. That's cool. From Chile, welcome. And lots of people coming in from the Philippines. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to give it just another minute, so please do keep introducing yourselves here and tell us where you're coming from. We've got someone coming from California, all the way from California. Man, it must be early for you. Someone coming in from Kenya. Hello. All right. Welcome, everyone. Okay, I think we can move to the next slide. All right, I think we are going to get started. So again, hello. Welcome to People Powered's takeover of ADB's CSO Conversations. We're super excited to be here. And this session aims to support the Asian Development Bank's goals of strengthening stakeholder engagement in climate and environment projects by providing some practical examples of how CSOs can contribute to and ultimately improve the implementation and outcomes of these kinds of projects. And here to tell us a little bit more about that is Mitch Ramirez, the Senior Social Development Officer at ADB. Mitch, over to you.
Thank you, Maria. Good day to everyone. I see a lot of people from different parts of the Asian Pacific and also outside of Asia and the Pacific. Welcome to this session of the CSO Conversations. So, as part of ADB's Climate Change and Sustainable Department, the Fragility and Engagement Division, our division, through our own team, the NGO and Civil Society Center, you can call us NGOC, has supported ADB's engagement with civil society as the work has expanded and evolved over the years. So we are very happy today, as Maria said, that they are taking over, People Powered is taking over the CSO Conversation series for this session. This is actually a milestone event for us that the CSO is leading the CSO Conversations for the first time. In the next slide, you will see that we are actually guided by the ADB Civil Society approach. My colleagues will send you the link in the chat box in case you want to read it or download it. This document has been approved late 2024, and as we call it, the CSA, or the Civil Society Operational Approach, the Civil Society approach rather, provides a roadmap across the bank, including its field offices, to deliver on our commitment with CSOs in engaging CSOs meaningfully in ADB operation. Part of it is having knowledge and dialogues, and also supporting more proactive and meaningful civil society engagement across ADB operations. In the next slide, you will see that the CSA actually has three pillars. Pillar one is increasing meaningful civil society engagement. Pillar two is strengthening knowledge sharing and dialogue, which we are doing right now. And pillar three, supporting accountability and transparency. So we hope that together the three pillars aim to address the operational challenges and expand knowledge with more stakeholders, particularly the civil society organizations and engage meaningfully with our member countries to support stronger connections between the government and also the other stakeholders in social accountability and mutual interest. But aside from the civil society approach, as you can see in the next slide, part of this activity is also in line with our very own climate change action plan 2025 and 2030. Our CCAP, as we call it, sets out concrete activities for meaningful civil society engagement as we work together towards building more resilient communities. Today is actually a great opportunity for us to learn about practical case studies and see how projects and programs with strong CSO engagement are actually being implemented. I encourage everyone to make the most out of this session. Please interact, send your questions in the chat, and engage with our speakers. From the Center for Environment Education, you will hear about Navneet later. Kota Kita Foundation from Indonesia, Nia is also here. And PRIA India for the courtesy of Dr. Carol, who will also speak about their practical case studies. So I am not going to hold off this any longer. Let's take this chance to exchange ideas and deepen our understanding of how civil society partnerships can drive community resilience and help solve complex challenges. Thank you. Maria, over to you, please, and let's get the session started.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mitch. Yes, today is all about community engagement and climate projects. And we've got a great lineup of speakers from all across Asia to talk to you about the community engagement work that they are doing. And at the end, we're also going to have a panel discussion with all of our speakers where you can ask questions. So please feel free to use the chat box in Zoom at any point during the presentations to send your questions in. At the end of today's CSO Conversations, we're also going to tell you how to find the support that you need to get started with community and CSO engagement. I'm Maria Lucian. I'm a program associate for resources and community building at People Powered. And today I'm also joined by my colleague and communications coordinator, Ryan Ong. Say hi in the chat, Ryan. And today we're going to be hearing from our wonderful panelists. We can see them in the next slide here. That's great. Okay, we have Navneet from the Center for Environment Education based in India, Anshuman Carol from PRIA, who's also based in India, and Silvania Utami based in Indonesia from Kota Kita. So before we get started today, I'd like to introduce People Powered. People Powered is a global hub for participatory democracy. Next slide, please. Great. Our mission is to expand people's power to make government decisions by supporting organizations and governments that are building that kind of participatory governance around the world. To do this, we develop and coordinate global resources, research, training, and other support that increases and improves participation in government beyond just elections. So we support practices like participatory budgeting, citizens' assemblies, participatory policymaking and planning, and legislative theater from the local and all the way to the global level. Through this work, we're helping to address common challenges and shift power towards historically marginalized communities. We're a membership-based organization. Our members include over 200 local and national organizations and practitioners that are supporting participation initiatives in their countries and localities. In fact, our speakers today are also members from the People Powered Network. But before we get to that, I want to ask you all what you think about civil society engagement in the climate space. You know, we know it's challenging to engage civil society organizations or encourage governments to engage with civil society organizations. So, you know, we know it's difficult, it's challenging, it can be a lot of work. So why do we do it? Like, what to you is the value of engaging CSOs, especially in climate projects? What do CSOs bring to the table in your opinion? Please do go ahead and like type your responses in chat. We're really excited to know what you're thinking as you're coming into the session. So I'm gonna wait. Hopefully we get some responses here. Boots on the ground, people on the front lines, absolutely. I think we can definitely see the value of bringing CSOs in. They're the closest to the communities that you want to engage, that you're working with. Yes, better participation leading to more sustainable decisions. I love that because that's what we're going to be talking about a lot in today's session, building that resilience. Yeah, connected to those who are affected more, absolutely. Representing underrepresented groups, varied skills, yes, absolutely. Bring CSOs in can really build that knowledge, right? Yes, acting as connectors, that is great. And I think this is a great point to segue to our next section, that climate projects in particular rely on community and stakeholder buy-in for improved outcomes, right? That resilience, that sustainability, bringing people with you in decision making really sets up a foundation for that. And I just want to flag here, People Powered also offers support like resources, self-paced learning materials. You'll see we can kind of like flip through some of the offerings that we have here. We have mentorship, capacity building programs. I'm going to talk about this later in the webinar, so hang tight for that. But first, let's get to our first speaker. Sorry, can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so we offer, like, we'll be talking about these later, so don't worry if you can't have a look at these just yet. Great. Okay, so we're going to move to our first speaker today, Anshuman Karu from PRIA. Anshuman, how can CSOs connect government, communities, and stakeholders to build resilience and strengthen project outcomes?
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for the introduction. And I really resonate with the participants' responses on your question. And this is what exactly in PRIA we are doing. Next slide, please. So PRIA is an NGO based in India, and for over 4 decades, we have been working towards empowering citizens through information sharing, mobilization, and at the same time sensitizing government agencies and private sector towards the citizen needs. Next slides. Uh, so we are working around these 4 pillars, and we work towards creating the bridge between the two to ensure that the right kind of government efforts reach the right people at the right time. So this is the PRIA strategy with which we are working. Next slide, please. So today I am presenting 2 case studies. We are actually working in western part of India, which is the semi-arid region, and most of these spaces are actually having a real scarcity of water scarcity and extreme floods during the heavy rains due to the ongoing these climate change things, and also during the months of this summer season. It's a extreme heat is actually affecting these regions. Next slide, please. So we are integrating, we are using some of the strategies where we are actually using co-production as a mechanism through multi-stakeholder advisory mechanism at the city level. So we are trying to understand, like when we are doing the working on the issue of water, natural water body rejuvenation. So it is important to bring all the city stakeholders at the same platform. So we are closely working with the municipal corporation, we are closely working with the forest department, garden department, water resource tourism department, the local councillors, self-help groups, communities, and the CSR partners, and to align some of the government policies where this convergence mechanisms are in place to take it forward. So we are using this community, we are use we are using this community driven data uh, uh, to support this action, and we are closely working with the women collectives which are in India called self-help groups, and the communities to use participatory tools like historical mapping, exploring the significance of the name of the water body, their cultural, social, and spiritual connect with the people, and using like a storytelling method, GIS mapping to document the traditional water bodies. So this generates a credible localized data linking science, heritage, and cultural memory to influence the city water action plans. So through these strategies, we are actually you can see that a lot of these partnerships are being made at the city level, and also using a lot of these methods, we are connecting community directly to the different stakeholders based on their lived experiences and all. Next slide, please. So we are also ensuring that the informal settlements, especially the people, those who are actually from the low income neighborhoods, they also need to have the water security throughout the season. So we are training the women collectives within these informal settlements on the water quality testing. And next slide, please. On water quality testing, and also they will become acting as a citizen scientist, and there is a scope within the government policy framework that how the different schemes can converge together and bring people on board because they are bringing their lived experience and their traditional knowledge to cope some of the challenges actually face which are coming through the all these climate change thing. Next slide, please. So the impacts we have that if you look at it scales the transform the city level practice into the policy influence through evidence based learning, enabling replication across the urban context, because you need a very disaggregated data and it is very contextual and place based if you want to actually if you want to make those changes. We are also breaking the institutional silos by creating a shared governance platforms that align with the different departments, the elected councillors, and other actors within the city. We are also empowering women and communities to generate this credible data, as I discussed earlier, and very localized data that drives the equitable and culturally rooted urban water planning. We are building on enduring collaboration between the government, civil society, even the higher educational institutions and the SAGs, because the higher educational institutions within the city are these are the institutions which can actually provide a lot of these research-based support to the city governance as well as to the communities, and we are also exploring that to ensure the participatory approaches in urban water governance. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, we can take it in the other round, and thanks for your attention.
Thanks so much, Anshuman. There are some really interesting points in there about the ability of CSOs to build the capacity of communities, mobilize those communities to contribute to projects, especially your point about breaking those institutional silos in climate infrastructure projects. They're often involving coordination across multiple departments and agencies. And, having a CSO act as that middleman, not just across government departments, but also connecting in other stakeholders, right? Like those higher education institutions, really roots those projects in collaboration. And that, I think, just leads to much better outcomes, especially if that's done early in the project, which leads me to our next speaker, Sylvania Utami from Kota Kita. We've heard a little bit about how CSOs can set the foundation for collaborative decision-making and project implementation. So Sylvania, how can doing this kind of CSO engagement early in the process lead to better outcomes and inclusion in the planning and implementation of these projects?
Thank you, Maria, for the positive, provoking question. So when we talk about infrastructure and a climate resilience project, we often speak in the language of number, models, and engineering design. But resilience is not built from the data alone. At Kota Kita, we've learned that infrastructure and climate project are not about what gets built, but how and with whom they are built. So this is where the civil society organization become essential partner of the infrastructure project. So not as the implementers at the margin, but as a co-designer of change. And here what CSO can do. Next slide, please. So in Solo, we started with a simple question like, what would happen if everyone, even those often unheard, could shape the city's public space? So through this project, the Kalipepe River Bank Public Space, supported by UN Habitat, we invited residents, including children, people with disability, and the elderly, and also the first-timer participants to imagine and design their own public space. So we utilize the tools like for the story, Minecraft. In that way, children who is advanced in that technology sketched their own design into the real design. And through several co-designing process and a collective decision, this idea become a park with accessible path, with a multi-purpose field, fish pond, urban farming activity, and also rain harvesting system. And of course, to ensure the true accessibility for all, we tested the park ramps and facilitate with people using wheelchair, making sure that this park is work for everyone. Next slide, please. This is our another project in Kalibaru, Indonesia. We started as a pile of the green shell waste along the coast, but it slowly turned into the story of women's creativity and resilience. Again, with participatory workshop, stakeholder interview, and the use of women's calendar tool, It can help us to map the woman's daily workload and responsibilities to identify time constraints and opportunities to ensure that the project align with their availability and capacities. This is Kota Kita effort on how we try to understand the local insight and to capture their challenges and aspiration to imagine new possibility. With this approach, we try to link the environmental issue with the economic opportunity, providing the low income families, especially women, with a chance. The next slide, please. This is our project named Urban Citizenship Academy. So Kota Kita equips youth change maker and local communities with the tools and skill to amplify marginalized voices, understanding the limited space for youth to engage in climate issue. Participants takes part in the workshop and field visit, learning not only about the climate issue challenges, but also value the local knowledge equally with academic or even NGO experts. So working with the youth network, we help young people to develop collective action and build effective network. This is our mission as a GSO, to empower citizens to actively shape the decision that affect their life. So by connecting youth and community leader with the decision makers, the program enabled them to become active agents for participatory urban governance. Last slide, please. So imagine that when we are building a park or climate project without asking the people who live there, or the community that will be the most affected by it, maybe on paper it can be look perfect, but in reality it can end up unused, turn into neglected spaces, and leave communities feeling frustrated. Yes, participatory process may take longer, but we should see it as an investment in ownership and lasting impact, and also as a commitment to inclusive development. And yeah, now imagine the same project but designed with the local people. Their knowledge guided the design, spotted the hidden risks, and ensured that the solution actually work in their daily life. Again, engaging CSO can help you to identify whose voice matter, who may be left out, and how to design process that are inclusive, more creative, and grounded in the local realities. In that way, a community can take ownership and help to maintain and adapt with the infrastructure. I think that's from my side. Thank you, Maria, for the time.
Thanks so much, Sylvania. This focus on bringing marginalized voices into the conversation in this like open, inclusive, even interactive and fun way. I mean, using a game like Minecraft that young people are already familiar with, that's such a unique way to engage them, which I think is also a great point about how CSOs can like refresh those more traditional processes of decision making. And I think you made a great point about embedding those community insights right from the get-go to move from a lens of reactive engagement to preemptive engagement in a sense, anticipating community needs, meeting them where they are, like a Minecraft, where young people are already at, addressing those potential pain points before they arise. And, you know, I think that sets the foundation for collaboration that we've been talking about in the long run, designing projects that reflect community needs and ultimately leads to a more sustainable and just a smoother process in general. And I think this is a great point to go to our final speaker before our moderated discussion today, Navneet Watkar from CEE in India. You know, so far we've heard from our last two speakers about how CSOs can mobilize communities as co-implementers and the value of early engagement. Navneet, what are some of the impacts and issues that arise when CSOs aren't engaged early?
Uh, uh, that's very pertinent question, Maria, and hello everyone. So now let us try to understand what are the impacts and issues that arises when the CSOs aren't engaged. Today I'll be sharing on how partnership with CSOs is very important. So let us try to, before that, let us try to quickly understand about CE. So CE is established in 1984 as the Center of Excellence of Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change in India. Headquartered in Ahmedabad, will work globally, nationally, and at local levels to promote environmental education, capacity building, and ecological solutions. Our work ranges from the community and ecosystem-based programs to specific initiatives such as coastal and marine conservation, biodiversity management, and sustainable livelihood. Today I'll be talking about experiences from one of our flagship initiatives. Next slide, please. Next slide. Today I'll be talking about our experience from one of our flagship initiatives, that is Green and Socially Sound Recovery and Climate Action for Rural Economy. These projects were aimed to promote sustainable livelihood and low carbon rural development by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and building resilient, equitable, climate adaptable communities in clusters across 3 states of India. The key initiatives include value chain assessment, developing India-specific GHG quantification methods and reduce GHG emissions, and strengthening community collectivization through capacity building and technology demonstrations. Next slide. In our experience, CSOs play a very crucial role in ensuring that climate and environmental projects are truly grounded in local realities. When CSOs are not part of this process, projects often struggle with community engagement, inclusivity, and sustainability. Let us try to understand what happens when CSOs buy-in is missing. Next slide. So first is context-specific design and inclusivity. When CSOs are not involved, projects often take a top-down approach, resulting in design that fail to reflect local needs that frequently exclude marginalized communities. However, when CSOs are engaged, planning becomes participatory through approaches like participatory rural appraisals and development of people biodiversity registers, that is PBR, helping ensure inclusion and equity in project implementation. The photos here depict the social mapping exercise being done by the villagers for the PBR process, and also climate awareness activities being conducted through interactive games such as rope and ladder game. Next slide, please. Without CSO's involvement, community trust tend to be a low and participation is very weak, which affects the long-term outcomes. But when CSOs are engaged, they help sustain community engagement, nurture local ownership, and build trust. These all are essential for lasting impact and continued action even beyond the project cycle. For instance, we facilitate the formation of women collectives for vegetable dehydration micro enterprise and fisher collectives for sustainable fishery initiatives as seen in these photos. With CSOs actively involved, community participation in these collectives have been truly remarkable. Next slide, please. Another key area is capacity building. Projects with CSO support often face low awareness, weak capacity development, and limited resource mobilization. In contrast, CSOs help designing and implement the capacity building, communication, education, and awareness, that is the CPA strategy, and implement it, build capacity at multiple levels, and provide continuous hand-holding support and mobilize both financial and social resources. In these photos, you can see the children identifying varieties of mushrooms in their locality using biodiversity mapping kit developed by CE, which helps build awareness and appreciation of local biodiversity. We are also providing ongoing support to tribal honey gatherers to establish forward market linkages and sell their honey sustainably. Next slide. Technology fit is another challenge. Without a local input, projects may adopt technology that are inappropriate or unsustainable, leading to wasted resources. When CSOs are involved, they help identify and promote context-specific, appropriate, and green technologies that communities can easily adopt and maintain. For example, here in photos, tribal women are managing the trichoderma-based fertilizer and fungicide units, while others are rearing fish seed bamboo cages. These are the excellent examples of the local innovation supported by the CSOs. And last but not the least, that is at a policy level. CSOs partnership helps strengthen the advocacy and institutional linkages. Without their partnership, policy integration and upscaling often remain weak. When CSOs engage, they facilitate policy advocacy, foster institutional partnership, and ensure coordination between government bodies, communities, and other stakeholders, ultimately strengthening the climate governance framework. Under this project, we see assess the government schemes and appropriate technologies and technical standards to advocate for restructuring and upscaling of the programs to enhance the environment sustainability. So that's it for now from my side. Ultimately, CSO's partnership can truly transform lives. Like next slide, last slide, yeah. Like empowering communities like this tribal fisherwoman and Fisher Collective rafting on the bamboo-made boat, as you can see. Thank you very much and look forward for your questions and discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Navneet, for sharing. I love your points about engaging CSOs to bridge the gap in expertise or local knowledge of practical conditions and how that enriches project implementation. Especially your points about building trust and ownership in communities, that can be really important for, like, again, that sense of long-term resilience and sustainability. And from your presentation, it's really clear how CSO buy-in to a project and their participation makes for a more equitable, inclusive, and more importantly, a fit-for-purpose approach to implementation. And that tends to result in broader community acceptance and more effective implementation through awareness and mobilization. And that, folks, sadly, is the end of the presentations today, but stick around because we're going to be moving into a panel discussion with all of the speakers. If you haven't had a chance to ask your questions yet, please do send them in now in the chat box. And if you have a question for a specific speaker, please also indicate that when you ask your question. For now, we did get some great questions in from the Zoom registration. So I want to start with this one, and this is open to all of the speakers. How can governments be encouraged or supported to work more inclusively with CSOs in climate adaptation planning? I know you all work with governments, so in your experience, how has that relationship to worked for you? How do you encourage them to do that sort of thing? Yeah, Anshuman, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for PRIA, for the last 4 decades, we are working closely both with the communities as well as with the government. So I think the true strategy, if we are actually looking at this, the most important is how CSOs can act as a bridge between the government and the communities. And we did that in all our interventions. This helps build trust and ensures that the government officials listen to them. Often government representatives or the government departments also need information, data, and most importantly, the first-hand insights into the issues faced by the communities. They also need to understand the community's adaptation strategies based on their knowledge and their lived experiences, and be open to accepting these as viable solutions and policy recommendations. So when we are actually engaging with the different government departments, they are ready for this thing. So because they are also having facing a lot of difficulties with the first hand insights and data. So I think that is the most important strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Nia. Sorry.
Yeah, may I jump in? So yeah, in the case of Indonesia, like government can be encouraged to work inclusive by showing that collaboration aligned with their government target, including, for instance, like regional climate change action plan or SDGs or your urban agenda. So when we have like demonstration project or prototype, it can help build trust and show the tangible benefit of working with the CSO. And other thing is the long-term presence and reputation is matter in case of Kota Kita in Solo. So we have like more than 10 years of engagement with the government. So we've built like social modalities, and we already can map the progressive and influential actors in the city level and establish network. In that way, we already do like the strategic stakeholder mapping and carefully engage with help of government to see that CSO is credible partner in planning and creating resilient and inclusive city. That's from Kota Kita side. Thank you.
Yeah, those are some really. Oh, go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah. To me, I think some of the government scheme in Indian experience also sometimes designed with top-down approach, and for that purpose, CSOs plays very important role to collect the data and reflect on this implementation of schemes, which schemes are working. And what I shared in the last slide, as well, we try to analyze the government scheme in the with the lens of the sustainability, and we find most of the schemes there are some of the gaps which can be filled by the experience which CSOs are experiencing and collecting data from the community. And that way CSOs can play a very important role, I think.
Yeah, those are some great points. Like, I'm really hearing the value that CSOs can bring with their skill sets that already exist and kind of presenting them as facilitative, like support for governments who are already generally under-resourced, facing time pressures. And this is where CSOs can kind of come in, right? I see a really interesting question in chat as well. From your experience, what makes community engagement in climate action effective? What distinguishes programs that are creating real change from those that only create awareness? I'm going to open it to the floor. Anybody who wants to jump in there.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, so to me, I think there is a knowledge gap with the community as well. And what we tried to do in one of our project was to quantify the greenhouse gas emissions from the agriculture production system as well. And we sat with the community and we projected to them that these are the like fertilizer application. It is causing the lot of emissions, both in terms of direct and indirect. We tried to explain them what is the climate change, how it is greenhouse gases are contributing, and that way the people were informed and they started making the informed choices like, yeah, we instead of the chemical fertilizers we can now try thinking of shifting to the some of the natural organic fertilizers. So these kind of information gap need to be filled, and this way the community can be engaged so that they can make the informed choices about the various options about the mitigation as well as adaptation practice they are actually thinking they can reduce the climate hazards in their area. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Navneet. Yeah, capacity building is super important, right? Not just for increasing local knowledge, but also to give local communities the kind of confidence to engage, right? I think that can also be really important. Yeah, go ahead, Anshuman.
Yeah, this is exactly what I presented. And when we are actually building that capacity among the communities, among the women in the informal settlements, on the water quality testing, for example. So initially, like they are having this thing, the water from any hand pump or something like that. But when we build those capacities, they able to understand that what is good for them and what is not, and what are the different components or indicators of like a good potable water. So they also actually then sensitizing the communities within, and that acts as a kind of a advocacy tool for them to engage with the municipality and to work along with the municipality. Similarly, in one of our projects in the rural parts of in Jharkhand state in India, where this fluoride contamination is a big issue, and when we engage the local communities on water quality testing, putting everything, all this data of all the hand pumps on the geotagged and presented to the district authorities, so they are ready to take action. Initially, like they are getting all these complaints, but without any evidence. So when they got this collective evidence from the community itself, so they got forced to take action. So I think these are the important things when you actually build those capacities, build that empowerment within the communities. They can take action and engage with the government more effectively.
Yeah, I love that point, Anshuman. Bringing the community in to build the evidence base for action. That's a really important part of collective collaboration, right? Nia, do you want to come in at all?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize a bit about the effective community engagement mean that creating like genuinely like inclusive process where community is just not just informed, because usually like participatory is just the checklist box. So for us, like effective is means like they are not just informed or consulted, but they also actively involved in this shaping the decision and creating the solution and outcomes. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Connecting back to real outcomes, that observable outcomes as well. Absolutely. Yeah, we've got another great question in chat. Again, open to all speakers. There are government policies that CSOs should be involved in government-initiated development projects. But it seems that the CSO participation space is very low. Can you share your experience on this?
May I?
Go ahead.
Yes, yeah, there are policies, and sometimes when we feel that, so currently the example I have given in my presentation, there are like two very important programs from the government of India. One is the National Urban Livelihood Mission. The other one is Amrut, which is Atal Mission for and rejuvenation of and transformation of urban this thing space. So both these programs are actually operating by the different ministries, But there is a policy initiative where this convergence, the government wants to have this convergence around these programs. So under the National Urban Livelihood Mission, they have created this women self-help groups, which are the community women collectives. And under the Amrut, they are actually looking at provisioning of water supply, provisioning of sanitation services, rejuvenation of water bodies and green space development. All these efforts are being taken place. So there is a like a recommendation of the convergence point where these women needs to be trained on different aspects of water governance, so they can actually be the front runners in terms of like in their municipalities, in their communities. But at the city level, sometimes the city authorities find it very difficult because there are different departments actually working in silos for the different parts of these, even the water governance, this thing. So when we are engaging with these community, we are engaging with the government, we are engaging with the city authorities and helping them to converge this thing by showcasing some of the examples, the way we are actually creating that capacity building at the local level and showcasing that it can be done. So I think that's the most important thing. They want to see that it is happening, and then they are ready to accept this thing and take it forward.
Yeah, shall I? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So in our experiences, even though there is a lesser engagement of some of the all CSOs in the policy making, there is a always when the policy makes into the some of the schemes, there is always the gaps which you can feel, and the schemes which is broader, you can utilize that particular spaces over there with engaging with the local authorities. So our experiences of tweaking this some of the policies and scheme in with interest of the people is a good strategy which can work at the locally. Like for example, promotion of organic farming is the scheme of the government of India, but we tweaked it in a way that to establish the trichoderma based input agriculture input lab in our in our clusters. So these are the some of the spaces we can utilize with active engagement with the local authorities, like authorities at the block level or authorities at the district level. So there are the spaces, and with that we can modify the schemes as per the needs of the community. That's what I feel.
Nia, do you want to? Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just a little bit adding and from the previous speakers, like in if we want to really like mainstream the participation process in the bureaucratic or government in the city level, I think we have to like break the system itself in this process of the participatory with the government. One thing that we can do is we can do the multi-stakeholder forum, which involve like CSO and then the government and then from the citizen sectors. So in that way, like the system is allowed that every project should using that platform first to become like the facilitation process to gain the input from the multi-stakeholder forum before they conducted a certain project. So yeah, I think it's not like one attempt trying to convincing the government, but we should like build the system itself so it can be sustained. That okay, if every infrastructure project participation is should be in the heart of the process, not just like one time and then yeah, the job one time system. That's our approach. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that point, Nia. Breaking the systems. That's a powerful quote right there. Yeah, and I think that this next question that was in the chat is super relevant to this conversation. The impact of community engagement and climate action is often long-term and not immediately visible. So what best practices or insights have you found effective in gaining the buy-in of partners, even other CSOs, other stakeholders, or government agencies who tend to have a to see is to believe culture or prefer initiatives that deliver immediate results? I know this is a tough question.
Shall I come?
Yeah, go ahead, Navneet.
Yeah. I think the project, the design of the project itself has to incorporate both long-term as well as short-term goals and objectives. That can be one strategy the CSOs can implement. And I know there are limitations of engagement with communities just during the project period, but if the good relationship with communities are built and the ownership to the community is given, the project even can sustain beyond the project timelines or the project cycle. And the long term results come from that, the engaging with the community, mobilizing the community, and taking all stakeholders on the board, and building that relationship helps a lot. And we can definitely have a long term impact in that case. And engagement with the community is very much important in that is the point I want to make. Thank you.
Anshuman, did you want to jump in there?
No, I think Navneet has already covered all the points. But yes, it is important that even before when we start our project, we need to think about like what should be our exit strategy. So it can't be sometimes we get into involved, and we also try to bring in a lot of these approaches to the government. But how to sustain them, it's also depends upon the exit strategy we have. So I just posted one of the toolkit which we have prepared, which is basically supported by IIED, and the toolkit itself actually explains like what should be the engagement process with different stakeholders at the city level, or wherever you are actually working. You need to map not only the stakeholders but also the impact they are going to create within your project, so that you can make them accountable, and also ensure to have evidence at every stage of the project, so that it can be built as an ecosystem within the duration of the project, so that when you exit, there will be a sustainable strategy where you actually capacitated the communities, where you have actually created awareness with them, you have created those linkages within the system, and they can take it forward.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really important point about sustainability. Like I love that concept of an exit strategy and having that in mind when you're planning. That's great. Yeah. Nia, any thoughts? Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean like it's about participation and how to make people change. It's like I can say like mental models again, like so capacity building both for government and both for the citizen should be work parallel. So the government and I mean like for instance for the issue like inclusivity, maybe the government and citizen doesn't know like what important to implement like universal design, but we should try to mainstream this issue both parallel for the government and for the citizens, so they have more sensitivity to that kind of issue. That's basically what to change the mental models, the mentality of the people, but about to see participation and object is not just like building stuff, or has to be like a certain tangible products.
Yeah, absolutely, Nia. Yeah, the mental models of how people engage, and mental models within government, within systems, within ins in general as well, right? Yeah, super important. Also, okay, this is a very interesting question. I think this will be interesting for you all to answer in your individual contexts. So what are the most pressing threats currently facing democratic approaches to climate action? And what social or political issues have you faced when implementing?
May I jump in?
I think
Yeah.
did were you able to get the questions, guys? Because I think Maria
Can you
jumped
repeat the
in.
questions? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maria, are you able to repeat the questions, please?
Oh, let me turn off my video. Is that a little bit better?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Let me repeat that question. What are pressing threats currently facing democratic approaches to climate action, and what social or political have you faced implementing participatory climate initiatives in your region? I'm also going to type it in the chat so that everyone can see now, just in case that didn't come through.
Yeah, if I can answer, like in Indonesia, actually we kind of like facing like the issue of the sinking spaces for the, especially for the CSO and for the citizens. So especially like for youth, like youth often face the limited space to express their idea, and the participation usually require not only understanding the issue but also skill like how to negotiation and advocacy. In this sense, like yeah, youth usually like rarely welcome in a formal decision making space. So what Kota Kita did actually, like we try to like recognizing the need of the youth for the creative and expressive participation. So we support the projects such as like writing narrative campaign, murals, or street art, or participatory performance that enabling youth to communicate climate concern and propose solution, not in like a conventional way, but in more expressive way for youth. So yeah, in order to address the sinking space and the formal bureaucratic spaces that usually not available for the youth. I think that's my question.
Yeah, in our experience,
Thanks, Nia.
yeah, shall I come in?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So in our experience, the for the marginalized group, especially like tribals and members of the scheduled caste communities, which caste is very important when it comes to India. So these are the very much pressing issue to participate these people into the old democratic processes. I'll give the example of one of the particular vulnerable tribe group that is called Katkari, and they are landless communities. They oftenly work into the farms during the rainy season and migrate during the winter season. So the democratic process involves the electing your representatives and participate into the village development plans. But for this whole process, they are not able to present because they usually migrate in search of livelihood. So their socioeconomic context itself is become a big issue when took their participation to the democratic processes. And for that purpose, we are constantly engaging to reverse migration of them in terms of working into their livelihood aspects like honey collection, wild berries collection from the forest, and doing a value addition to that. So these aspects, if we work and then make them not to go for in search of the livelihood, then definitely they can strengthen the democratic processes in their locality. So that is the one aspect I want to highlight here about it. Thank
Uh, just to add what Mia and Namneet has shared, so we also need to understand that what is coming as a from the donor community or from the larger kind of a bilateral donors, what is their stake and how they want to go ahead with this thing. If you recall that recently the founder of this Bill Gates has actually written about how this climate action thing can be should be bottom up rather than the top down approach, and that has changed the whole perspective about this thing, how they are actually looking at. So I think it is important also to when you are actually engaging with the government or other institutions in your space, but also who is building that narrative. I think that is very important. And I think now if the people sitting at those high chairs, if they acknowledge that the solutions should come from the bottom, and if we want to adapt to this thing, and communities are already adapting to this thing, and they should talk about more about this thing, I think it's an important narrative which can actually change the whole idea of this bottom up planning and taking it forward. I think we need to engage more with the donors in that sense. I think the donor awareness and all those things are also very important. The other important component of this whole strategy is to because if you're saying that we need to engage communities, we want to use these participatory approaches, and we build that capacities within the communities and within the government system, that's a time consuming thing. You need to actually go through a long process, and it should be then the kind of support you are getting as a civil society organizations. I think that is more important. It should be long term. It should not be a very short sighted kind of this thing where you need to show the impact every 6 months. So I think that should be a longer strategy from the donor point of view also, and this is the responsibility of the our practitioner organizations also to create that awareness at that system level.
Thanks, Anshuman. Thanks so much, speakers, for sharing. This has been such a great discussion, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this up now. But before we move into the closing section of this webinar, I want to ask you, has this inspired you? What's one thing to try differently in your next project? And how do you think partners such as ADB can help you in your projects? And please do feel free to type your answer in chat. I don't know how you're feeling now through this really inspiring session, now that we've heard all of these different case studies, worrying about what you want to try differently. And for us, I think there's actually a lot that ADB and CSOs have in common when it comes to facilitative role, bridging civil society and communities and governments, connecting people. There's already a ton of common ground, I feel, here for collaboration. So I hope we're already leaving this session today with that in mind. Oh, using Minecraft for math, I love that. I know, that's such a creative to engage young people, I think. I really love that example. Okay, yeah, please do keep putting your answers in chat. But with that, I would first like to thank ADB and team for letting for the CSO conversation session today as wonderful speakers and panelists who joined to contribute their insights. Thank you, Navneet and Shumania, for being here today. So first off, if you're thinking of getting started with climate engagement, People Powered offers the tools, training, and support programs that can help you. Our accelerators and mentorship programs support from experts in citizen participation to improve or launch a participation. But if you're looking for something a little bit more self-paced, we also have an interactive process planning tool on the next slide here called the Participation Playbook. That's right. This can help you think through the key planning decisions when you're planning your own climate engagement program, and it helps you get started with the plan of action to start your very own program in your community's context. On this next slide here, we also offer online training courses, a resource center that has tips, tools, and guides. And if you're already working in citizen participation and you want to be connected to an international community, why not join us as a member? All of our speakers today are also People Powered members. Members get access, support, contract opportunities, promotion, publicity, peer networking, and more. So you visit our website linked in the chat to learn more about joining. How they can partner with ADB. Oh, I think I'm a little bit ahead. So People Powered also has another web that's coming up here on the next slide. Feel free to register for that. Brian's going to put the link in. And on the next, again, for CSOs interested in understanding how to partner with ADB, there's a on this next slide. And if you're interested in AD mailing list, there's also a QR code coming up that you can scan, link in the chat. Okay, I think you can also see an exit poll for the session coming up on your Zoom window now, so we'd really appreciate if you could fill that out before you go. And once again, a huge thank you to all of you for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you are, or the rest of the evening or night. Thanks so much for joining, folks. I appreciate it. I'm going to stick around for just a second so you can keep answering the poll. But yeah, thank you very much again. It was great to see